Just give me a second so I can do it from here instead,
Okay.
because the platform is being difficult. So and they can actually see us now.
That's
They can
fine.
see us now. Yeah. So anyone who is seeing this, just give me 1 second because we're having technical difficulties, and yeah, I need to make a correction here.
There's someone I think you should bring on this podcast to talk about some of these topics. I follow her on
Mm,
Facebook. Her name is China Okorafor. She's based in the US.
okay.
She's a brilliant woman. Her husband is a brilliant man. They're both into mentoring, encouraging people. She particularly is an advocate for women, but also with very traditional values. She's a brilliant woman, a very, very brilliant woman. I think she'll be a great resource person. And your listeners
For
would
this.
love to hear from her. Yes.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. So I think yeah. For some reason, this thing has chosen to just be difficult.
Technology, these things happen. I'm sure everyone can
Okay.
understand it.
I think that we're good now. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. And for some reason, okay, we are good. Right. Perfect. So yeah, we can go. All right. So I'm talking with Tony Usidame. As you can see, we're talking about Nigerian couples abroad, homicide, and the toxic relationships. And it seems the general perception out there is that relocation causes marriages to break up, Nigerian marriages to break up. And I'm not so sure if that is what is directly causing it. So let's talk about this, Tony.
Okay, great. It's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to explore this topic with you and with our listeners or viewers. Um, I'm particularly interested in this topic because, like I said to you, Uzo, off camera, somebody close to me, somebody we had gone to the university together, a doctor, was murdered by our own husband, was killed by our own husband in the United States. So it is a topic that is close to my heart. We know that there are several more of such cases involving Nigerians living abroad, people who, for those who moved from Nigeria while they were here, seemed to be, doing okay. They seem to be like the perfect family. And then all of a sudden, they move abroad and cracks start to show up in their marriages. Things degenerate to a level where one party ends up killing the other party. So it's something that we really should talk about. As to what is the cause of this and if relocation is really the reason, well, I would say that the culture difference and how people have been raised, especially people of African descent, people who grew up on home soil, have a certain kind of nurturing. They have been taught to believe that in a marriage, in a traditional marriage, a man's role is this and a woman's role is this. So when you get to a climb where that traditional concept of marriage that you had, and this is as well for the man as it is for the woman, tension starts to build up. For instance, a lot of Nigerian men in, Nigerian African men in African marriages have been thought that a man is the head of the family, head not only in decision making, but also in providing. So a lot of people who grew up with this kind of nurturing feel that their role or their value in a marriage is when they are able to call the shots. Again, financially, and also when it comes to major decisions. And in Nigeria or Africa, it's easy to have a one income home where the man is the major breadwinner of the family and the woman can sit down and be a stay-at-home mom. This situation happens very often within the Nigerian and the African setting. But then when you relocate abroad, first two things are happening. There's a culture change over there. As you know, Uzo, you live abroad. You've lived abroad for a while. You know that having a one income family is very, very hard for people out there. So in most cases, you would see that the woman is also working. In most of the cases, the woman is also working. So it becomes a two income family. So these people, when they move from Nigeria and move abroad, and it happens that both of them are now working and are having to contribute to running the family, the man feels sort of not like himself anymore because he's used to be the one, sole provider, main breadwinner, the one calling the shots. But here he is in a place where the environment is forcing the wife to take on a job in order to be able to support the family. And all of a sudden, the value that he sees, that he attaches to himself based on his nurturing, is under attack. All of a sudden, he begins to think that, oh, I'm no longer the man in the marriage. And then for the woman, she's used to the way she was raised over here. She's used to being subservient. Unfortunately, not that I support this, but a lot of women in the African setting are raised to be subservient to their husband. And then you get to a different culture where women have liberties. And then not only do women have liberties, you are also in a place where your income is also very crucial to running the family. So the woman is providing income just like the man is doing. She's taking care of other tasks, children, and other things in the house. And you expect to still be calling the shots within this change dynamics. The woman realizes that no, I am shortchanging myself by contributing in some cases 50-50. It doesn't matter, 70-30. I really don't care much about the ratio of contributions. She's contributing financially. She's also doing things, with regards to caring for the children and all of that. Yet the man, because of his nurturing, is trying to lord things over her, and then the woman pushes back because she's also in a society where women have liberties. So for both of them, for the man who was used to being alpha and omega and whose only value in the marriage was tied to being major provider and boss, sees that position suddenly threatened. And the woman who was used to being subservient in Africa now sees that here I have liberty. So for both of them, there's like a cultural change happening. And if you don't navigate these changes properly, that is what escalates to the level of couples, one party now having to, inflict bodily harm on the other, or in some cases, as we have witnessed, kill their partners. Also, it's a very, very complex thing. So it's not as simple as I have just tried to paint it, but there's a lot involved. But I think that the orientation here in Africa as to the roles of a man and a woman in an African marriage, and then going outside to, where things are slightly different, where the culture is slightly different, the inability to be able to navigate these changes for both parties, in most cases, the man, that is what leads to these problems that we see.
Hmm. Okay, Tony, there are lots of points that you've brought up there, but let me just let me try and simplify it for us. Isn't it an issue of two people who are living together in a marriage that we're talking about? That's what we're talking about. Now, when we start to talk about changes in roles and all that, this is what they had before in Africa, and now this is what they're now having in a different culture. What comes to my mind is what is essentially like what we have accepted as the norm in Africa over the years. Okay, let me even just go back. For me, at some point, I got the idea of see, I was an A1 student for English in all the exams, right? But here is something that I misinterpreted, an English word that I misinterpreted. Norm, norm. Because for a very long time, to me, I interpreted the norm as being whatever it is that is the what I interpret as the right thing or the thing that will give us the best outcomes. That is what my brain just decided to call the norm. But the truth really is that I was completely wrong all those years because what the norm is what is generally practiced, right? And so it doesn't matter what the results are. If this is what is generally practiced, then that is what the norm is. So if what is generally practiced is giving us outcomes that aren't the best, why don't we instead consider changing that from being the norm? And when we have a situation where the man is the alpha and omega in a relationship, I often wonder how do they enjoy these relationships? How do you enjoy the relationship? Because even the person who is lording it over somebody else cannot truly enjoy the relationship. The way that I'm seeing it, I can't see how. Because you're going to be with something or someone who is your subordinate, who you don't have regard and respect for. And when you're doing things, it's like you are married, but you don't have a companion. You can't have a
Hmm.
companion if the person is down there lower than you and their opinion and their voice doesn't matter that much. So you're married, but you're still alone. So haven't we now created marriages where you are married and even the other person is unhappy? And we know as human beings, nobody likes to feel at the disadvantage. Nobody likes to feel like the one who is missing out or losing out. So,
Hmm.
so even if this is what they've been practicing and they've been living with, somebody is unhappy. And I think it's both people that are unhappy. I think it's both people that are unhappy because somebody might even think that they would be happy to control someone else. But that relationship cannot still be fulfilling. It won't be because that is what a
Yes,
marriage is about.
I agree with you absolutely, Uzo. Can you hear me, Uzo?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I agree
Hello?
with you. And when I was talking about, yes, I can hear you, Uzo, if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Great. So when I was talking about why these cracks happen, what I am saying is not that the way of doing things over there, I mean, I'm talking about Western world, is better than,
Yeah.
it's not a case of comparison. I'm just trying to say how, I'm just trying to say why couples who migrated from Africa to Europe, or other parts, America, other parts of the world, who seemed to be doing well, emphasis on seemed, who appeared to be doing well according to standards. I remember saying this at the start, according to standards that we use to assess marriages in these climes. Now move over there. I'm talking about why things like homicide happen in that climb, things that weren't happening here. And I'm trying to, based on my understanding, trying to see why those changes happen. And I can only link it to um, our backgrounds and how we have been nurtured, um, and made to see what the roles of the man versus the woman is in an African setting as against abroad. I mean, this is by no way saying any way is better. However, what you cited, I think, is really at the heart of this problem, because a marriage should be a partnership. It should not be, and it should be an equal partnership. It should not be one party trying to dominate the other. I know that, some very religious people will quote the scripture to you and say the man is the head, the woman is, supposed to be under the man. They would say these things. But you see, when you talk of headship, when you talk of leadership, it's not something that is forced. It's not even something that is assigned. It is something that is earned. If a man treats a woman lovingly, if a man treats a woman respectfully, of course the woman will be happy. I mean, the aim should not be to get a woman to do your bidding. That should not be the aim. The aim of a partnership is that both of you can grow and get better. That's the aim of any partnership, more so a marriage partnership. And so we must begin to look at how we view marriages, especially within the African culture, where the men see their role as the oga patapata, the alpha and the omega. And if a woman doesn't fall in line, meaning if she's not the subservient type, then she's a bad
Hmm.
woman. We need to start to relook, at how we see marriages, because marriages should be a partnership. It should be based on love. Our goal should be that for the man or for the woman, that our partner is
Oh my
happy, our
gosh.
partner feels loved, our partner feels cherished. This should be our goal in every marriage relationship. It should not be about power. It should not be about who is the boss, who is the head, or who is the neck. It should be a partnership, and a partnership for progress, so that the entire marriage unit
Hmm.
um, grows and continues to be a happy unit. It has to be a partnership, until we start to change our ways of viewing this partnership. These problems will continue to exist. Uzo, what you said about both parties not being happy is very, very true. Because if you are in a marriage as a man, and all you are always trying to do is to dominate and to show your power, then even if the woman panders to you and does everything, I don't think that you will be truly, 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 truly fulfilled, because she has not done it from a place of, understanding, and because she respects you, or anything. She has just done it for, in quote, peace sake. And anything you do just for peace sake, not because there's any inherent value that you see in it, it's
Hmm.
not real. It's not real. And I don't think you derive like full satisfaction from such. Some men appear to do, seeing their wife trampled upon. It seems to give some men the kick, but those are abnormal people. I'm not talking about those ones. Those ones, I think, have a problem. that they need to deal with, right? But I'm talking about the reasonable ones. I don't think seeing your wife on the ground, seeing your wife constantly in a place where she has to be begging and pleading, I don't think it should give any real man joy. And for a woman to also be in that place where she's constantly being disrespected, constantly being trampled upon, of course she cannot be happy. She can do the man's bidding, but she won't be happy in that union.
Is it possible that the men who do this, two things that maybe we can draw attention to is, so you want to be regarded as the head here and you want to be respected and be the leader and all that. I want to just say categorically here that women actually want that. Women actually want that. Because let me tell you why. When you have a woman who doesn't have that type of man, right? She's not happy. But let this not be misunderstood. Let me explain. Yes. Because she now finds herself, because when we were put into this world, we were actually taught that men are the head, men are the leaders, right? So we already have that mindset. So when we are with a man, we expect him to do certain things to take care of us. If there is an intruder in the house, we expect him to be the one to take care of it, right? He's never going to wake me up and say, Uzo, go and check. I heard a sound downstairs. Go and check if someone has entered the house. If there's a crisis, I expect that man to take charge of the home. And if he doesn't, I will not trust him. I won't trust that he can take care of me and my children. If there is something to be done, I want to look up to him. So therefore, even a woman who thinks that she actually wants equality or she wants to be in charge, when we really get down to it, she's not going to really want it. And if you give it to her, she is going to lack trust in the man and she will be unhappy in that relationship. And the moment that she sees a man who is giving her solutions for things that come up that this man is not bringing solutions for, she will begin to look at him less and less, and then there'll be trouble. So women do want, even the women who don't know, tell me if you don't want a man to be in charge. Tell me if you don't want to relax and have someone take care of you. You will want to relax and have someone take care of you.
Okay.
However,
This 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 is very, very interesting because I mean you put it in a nicer way. Someone told me this was back in the university. Um, I mean, I used to be like, I'm still a lover boy. I used to be like, hopeless romantic, do everything to make the woman happy kind of thing. And I had this, girl I was in love with that showed me shege. For those who don't know what shege
you showed
means,
you
it
Shaggy
means like she
Banza.
really dealt with me. She dealt with me. And I remember going to her room one time, she wasn't there, and her friends loved me because they
Of
thought I was
course.
a cool guy. And one of them, Susan, said, Tony, you see, us women, we don't like guys that are too nice. We want a guy who is in charge. And she went to the extreme. She said she wants a man that would slap her and pet her.
If I need
Slap
to slap her.
and
I need to
pet.
slap her.
Slap
I need to slap
and
her.
pet. Now, this is not a man. This is a woman like you saying this. The point I really want to make about this is partnerships also don't mean that there aren't areas that we're particularly, whether biologically, anatomically, or by virtue of our exposure, knowledge, or whatever, better at. So even in a partnership, one person can be better at something. A partnership is you bring your best foot forward, whatever you're good at. Traditionally, not traditionally, anatomically, men are built stronger than women. This is a fact. You can check it biologically, anatomically. Men are built stronger than women. So when it comes to the security part, the protection part, of course, because I am the stronger one, if there's an intruder in the house at night, I would not wake up my wife to go. That is one area where I have an advantage because anatomically, as a man, I am built stronger. It is not just because I'm a man, it's because anatomically, I am stronger. Right? So it's not like a gender role. It's not like an assigned thing. It's just
It's a
based
natural
on
thing that's based on
facts.
facts.
It's a natural thing, things we cannot ignore. Anatomically, a man is built stronger than a woman. That is not to say all men are strong because I've seen women that can beat men. But generally speaking, men are built stronger than women. So in a partnership, each party brings their A game, the parts where you are strong at. Women, for instance, are known to be great at listening and giving advice. This is not excusing men from listening to their wives. No, men can learn from that. But generally speaking, women are more patient. They can listen, have the time to listen to you. And somebody who listens to you can digest a situation, look at it from angles that you probably haven't looked at it, and be able to offer level headed advice. That is why, for the most successful men, you will find that they have supportive women behind them. That is their strong point, right? Talking about strong points too in a partnership, there are men who are great at cooking. If I am great at cooking, why won't I want to be the one doing that part as my contribution in the home? Again, I'm bringing out all these examples just to say that the things that we do in a partnership are not based on our penises or vaginas or our gender, sex. They are based on what each party, either by nature or by nurture, is great at. And all of us will bring this to the table. This is what makes any partnership work. And talking about, the point you were talking about earlier about women wanting somebody in charge. Uzo, what women want is not somebody in charge. What women want is somebody who cares so much about them that he would go out of his way to do things to make them happy, to make them protected, to make them feel loved, to make them comfortable. Men want that too. Men also want that too. Sometimes we tend to think that what men and women want in a partnership, I keep saying partnership because this could be a marriage, could just be, a non-marriage, a committed relationship, basically. That's why I keep saying partnership. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. Men and women, apart from our anatomy,
We're
we're
human
not so much
beings.
different too. We're not so much different in the things that we want. We have the same desire for love. We have the same desire for beauty. We have the same desire for truth, for justice, for meaning. Those are intrinsic things in a human being. So we're not so different apart from our penises and vaginas. I believe our listeners are adults. That's why I can confidently talk about this because I want the message to go home because
Yes.
those things don't really define us.
We don't
And in
define
a
it.
relationship, that is not what should determine the part. That's not what should determine the part that a person plays. It
Yes.
should be based on what we are great at. That's what we should be bringing to the table. And if each party plays their part well, not worried about head or tail or middle, just be a decent human being. That's what the other party wants. If you love your partner so much, you would want to protect her. If you love your partner so much, you would want to care for her, you would want to provide for her. It's not because you are a man. It has nothing to do with your gender. And if the other party feels that
Wow.
this person is showing me love, is showing me care, it does not matter. They will be happy. At the end of the day, it's for the units, as it were, to for both parties to grow and feel heard, feel loved. That's really what a partnership should be about. That's what a
Oh my
marriage should be
gosh.
about.
Now we're talking about love. When I sent you this thing, I said, let's talk about love because really, you've just in a nutshell, that's what you've said. See, a lot of the time we think that we're not what we're doing is not even love. Because from what you've just said, and from my own understanding of
Yes,
love, love is when you're looking at love between two people, you can just use that of a I would have said you can use a mother and the child, right? What you do when you love someone is that you put their interests and their needs in front of you in everything that you're doing. You are considering them in everything that you're doing. You are interested, you are invested in their happiness. If you have a relationship between two people where I am invested in your happiness, and I know I can see that you are invested in my happiness, that is the beginning and the end of everything. I think that's the beginning and the end of it. Because at that point, I am not busy trying to check, is she performing the role of someone who is submissive to me? Is he performing the role of someone who is, or what do you think? Because that way, all I am thinking about is I know that you have my interests at heart. No, whatever you are doing, I know you are doing it because you believe that this is what is best for both of us, right? And I can also see it because when
exactly.
I complain about something, the way you are going to respond is going to show that you are interested in the way that I feel about it.
Yes. Also, what you've said, really, that is what a loving relationship should be. Some people come and they say 50-50, 70-30. If it is true love, it would not matter. It would not matter what ratio it is. I hear people say a woman should never love a man more than the
Why are you
man loves
acting like
her.
you came into my drafts? That's
A
what
man
I'm.
should not love the woman, but people say these things. You hear them all the time. But a real loving relationship, you shouldn't have to
I want to ask
care.
you something.
Yes,
With what you've just said now, because this is what I say all the time. Even when I see people post about things, I always make that statement. I'm like, do you guys realize what you're doing? Anytime that you come out and say women should so, men should, what you are doing is that you are already defeating. It's like that other person is the other party, is your
hmm
antagonist. It's like you're on different
hmm
sides. So do you then want to go and have a relationship with only people of your own gender? Is that what you want?
hmm
Because when I go, if I go out there and I keep talking about men are always this, men do that, men this, or men should. So it's like I'm not seeing them as my ally. I'm not. Then why do you bother getting into relationships? If you can talk like that, then you don't belong in a relationship. If you can talk like
I agree absolutely. I agree absolutely, Uzo. A real loving relationship, like you put it, it's ensuring putting the interest of that person in front of you. I'm not saying before your own, no, but let it be in front of you, like, and let it be clear to the person. How do you make it clear? In the things, in the not just in the words that you say, in the
they're gonna
actions.
know.
For a man,
They will
for
know.
a man, yes, they would know. If a woman sees that you are not leaving all of the responsibilities to her, you're helping out as you should in the home, not just being somebody who brings finance and that's it. Because for one of the reasons why there are lots of issues or women are not satisfied in their marriages is, yes, some of their men are providers, but their investment in the marriage ends at just the financial. It takes much more than that to build a proper, fulfilling partnership. You need to be invested also in other areas. You need to also be there, connect with the woman emotionally, spiritually. That all of these aspects of a person are important. You don't just
That
cater
person
to the
is you.
financial,
That
and then
person is you,
yes,
is a part of
and
you.
then you neglect all of these other parts. In a real loving relationship, and this is as well for the man as for the woman, you want to see that the person is cared for along all of these lines: financially, emotionally, spiritually, um, in every way that you can think of. That is what would always be at the back of your mind. The person is integral to all the plans that you are making, which is why you will not just come up and say it has to be like this, it has to be like this. No, you want to talk to them about it because you care about them. You care about how they feel. You care about what will make them happy. You don't want to assume that this is how it should be. You want to get their input in making important decisions because you really, really care about their happiness. And again, this is not a gender thing. This is a human thing. This is a people thing. This is a person thing. And the way it should be for the man is the way it should be for the woman. Put the other person's interest in front of you. I say in front, meaning that it is it's a
It's
big
part of
deal.
what you're
Not
looking
that
at.
you put your
It's part of what you're looking
yeah,
at.
not that I don't mean put your own interest in the back burner. No, our interests are
Mm.
aligned, is what I'm saying. Your happiness is my happiness. I am only truly, fully happy when you are
Of
happy.
course.
That's what a loving partnership
I'm
is.
only truly
A loving
happy.
partnership is one where you are only truly, fully happy. On my own, I am happy, but my happiness is full when you are happy. That's what a loving partnership.
Hmm. Because they would
Yeah.
come back. They would come back to tell you that what you're saying is that you should be making the other person happy and nobody can make you know what I think it looks to me like we are just looking for reasons and reasons and reasons to destroy having loving relationships. And unfortunately, when people speak those things into the environment, into the society, and write all those things on social media, people accept these things, and I am unable to accept these things because I want real love. So it seems to me that people are actually afraid. People are afraid of having real love because maybe they're afraid of not being able to meet up. It seems to me, you know, because I don't know why you want to perpetuate things that keep on causing division, right? When all you have to do is think about. I'm just responding to. Yeah, sorry. So
Oh, I see Faith Studios. They love your fascinator.
yes.
And Dr. Debbie, thank you. I see Debbie's
Oh,
comment
you can
about
see
enjoying
them.
the
Aha! I'm glad
conversation.
you can see them. Okay. So,
Oh, yes, I
all
can.
right, beautiful. So that's the thing. So, then they will say all these things like in the Bible, it says that men should love their wives and women should respect. And they say it in a way as if women should not, you have no business loving the man has no business with love. And that's not my experiential, that's not what I see in real life, right? I haven't seen men who do not want love, because all I see is that every human being actually wants love, right? And I don't disagree with that, with the talk about respect, because I can't even see how you can respect someone, or I can't see how you can love someone that you don't respect.
That you don't
Let me just put it that
respect.
way. Without
Hmm.
respect, there can be no love. Therefore, the man who is wanting that woman to be submissive to him, in the way that he's treating her, he's not treating her with respect. And if he does not respect her,
I don't know, Uzo. The word submissive, it rubs me off the wrong way.
but you know
It
what?
always does. I'm a man,
Yes.
but it still rubs me off the wrong way because it's a partnership. Why are you interested in somebody submitting to you? Why? Why should that be your goal?
Why should it be your
The
goal?
Bible that a lot of people make reference to, the Bible says, I mean, I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person, but that's a conversation for another day. But I used to, be a student of the Bible, and I know that this same Bible that people quote when it's convenient to push certain agendas, that same Bible said, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, send the Son to die for their sins." And then when the scripture talks about the man loving the woman, it said, "Love as Christ loved the church, loved in such a way that He gave His life." Now, if you are loving a woman in that way, all of this talk about submission should not even come up at all. I don't know why people are crazy about what is it
It's the inability to
about
love, my dear Tony.
what is it about some other human, a whole human being, that has full arms and legs and submitting to
Submitting
you?
to
Why
you.
is it
You
such a
why
big
you
deal?
want to make yourself Lord? But do you know the funny thing? The funny thing is that a lot of things in life happen, like everything is almost everything is an irony. The moment that a man is treating me in the way that I see that he has all my best interests at heart, right? And okay, so let's I'm gonna put a caveat here because people think sometimes they will say if you do everything for her, there's no way she would leave. If you do everything for him, no, it's not true because it
It's not true.
starts with
It's not true.
first of all, does this person see you as the person that they want to be in a relationship with? Because you can do everything you want
Mhm.
for the person, and then
Oh,
you would
very true.
yes.
So very
So
true.
we need to not forget it is always, am I going and looking at, is everything I'm doing, once everything I'm doing is showing that it's not in your best interest, then you know that I am probably not the
Mm.
person for you. No matter how much you
Mm-hmm.
care about me and what you're doing for me, I am not the person for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we get into
Mm-hmm.
that relationship, I am unable to have those thoughts for you and about you. And it's nothing to do with that you are anything less valuable. It could just be that the exposure that you've had in life makes you see things in a certain way. So that when we're having a
Exactly.
conversation, the attitude that you have to something is something that really irritates me. So you can care about me, but the way that you reason, I can't even understand what the way that you're thinking. So there's no way that I can be in that relationship with you. So it's not for you to start feeling disappointed that I cannot reciprocate, because there are things that are values to me in life. They are my
Mm.
values. When God created us, because all these people talk about God and they talk about God giving us free will, your creator
Mm-hmm.
has created you and given you free will to love him and to do whatever. So why would you now come as a human being and decide that you will take away my free will because you have decided that you love me and I must now accept you even though you are not what I am looking for, right? So that's another thing where that's why I think we're trying to box ourselves into all these things so that we can insist on
Mm.
getting something from someone, even when they have shown that they don't have it, they're not willing to give it, they're not capable of giving it. And then we stay in that relationship. And I think that that is part of why these marriages are having these issues, because it's not just relocation. Because if when they were at home, there's someone here that beat his wife and the police got involved, and then she decided that she wasn't going to she reported, she called the police. Then later she decided that she wasn't going to go ahead because they do this a lot. They'll do this and then they'll reconcile because they've been doing it over and over, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's become a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was now saying, what's the big deal? After all, we were doing this back home in Nigeria. He's been used to beating his wife. How do you
Mm.
how do you say that? That means there is no love there. And if you're talking about submission, what
There
about the
is no
love
love.
part? What about the part that told you to love? And in any case, that submission part, I spoke with a woman. I interviewed a woman who was married to a pastor, a fake pastor, who was dealing with her, messing up her life. And by the time she was ready to leave it, she was saying, I asked her, so if your daughter, I said, why did you do this all these years? Almost 20 years. She said, because she was being a submissive wife. I said, okay, what would you say to, because she has a daughter that is almost 20 now. I said, what would you say to your daughter tomorrow if she gets married? She should be a submissive wife. You know what her response was? She said, even the Bible
Mm,
says that we should submit ourselves onto, onto one another. So it's a two-way thing,
mm.
but they make so much noise about that one. That's the only thing that we
We
remember.
cherry pick to
And
push
that's
an
all we
agenda.
remember.
That's
We
what
don't
we
even
do.
remember that it's a two-way thing in the Bible. The Bible also has it there for the two
Mm.
parties, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, we also forget that, I mean, not everybody is exposed to Christianity. So it's not like the only standard for talking about all of these issues. They're Muslims, and the Quran probably has things to say about the relationships between men and women. Again, I don't like to look at things from the lens of religion because I have my issues with organized religion. I'd rather look at it as a human being,
Yeah. Why can't
as
we
a
let's
human
just look
being
at human beings? Yes.
with a brain and with a heart, with a brain and with a heart. The things that make you human, those are the things that
Are you my brother?
make you brain, heart, spirit.
Are you
Those
my
are the things
brother?
that make you like really, really human. And that's the lens through which I am looking at this. Back to the topic, which is the problems in marriages abroad and homicides. I think over the course of this discussion, we have established that while the relocation and the change in you know culture, as it were, environment has a part to play, it only makes open cracks that were already there,
Mhm.
even while you seemed to be okay in
It
Nigeria.
was not
For
okay.
those who, yes, it was never
That's
okay.
why.
So we've established that it is not the relocation per se. Yes, it does have a part to play because, like I said, these cultural differences, ways of doing things, if you're not navigating it right, those will pose a problem. But beyond those, there was already a problem. This just helped to expose that problem. And the problem is what we've been talking about, Uzo. Is this marriage really based on love from the word go? Because if it's based on love, our focus should not be on one party lording things over the other. Our focus will not be on one party seeking submission from the other. If it is based on love, our focus will be how two equal partners can live together, be best individually as individuals, push each other to be the best as individuals, and as a couple. And when kids come into the picture, as a family unit. This is what a true loving marriage should be like. Unfortunately, most of us enter into marriages when we had no business. A lot of people, I'm not just talking Nigeria, everywhere in the world,
Mhm.
start marriages when they had no
Even
business getting
relationships.
into
Start
marriages.
have
You did not,
relationships.
yeah, relationship. Because first, a lot of people don't even know who they are. They have not come to find out who they are, what they really, 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 really want, what makes them happy, what makes them tick. They don't know before they decide to leave with another person. And so, if at some point during this new relationship they start to find themselves, they now see that this person doesn't align with who they are. This is the cause of a lot of the problems that we're having. Many
Oh my
people
gosh.
do not have businesses being together
In the
in the
first
first
place.
place. Many people don't. Many people don't. That's why you could be doing all of the right
And
things,
it's
all of the right things, because right is relative, right? But the other person can't receive it because they're not just the person
it's
for
not it.
you. Yes, it's not because you have a problem. It's not because you're not, investing your energy or your time, but that's not just the
That's
person
not.
for you. So no matter what you do, they won't be able to receive what you're given, this investment you're making. So that's one area. I mean, for my daughter, I am letting her know she's still very young. She's still 14, and my son, who is 13, there's no hurry to marriages. Those days when parents wanted kids, right after graduation, um, the next thing on the agenda is marriage. It doesn't matter whether the person has other plans. It doesn't matter whether the person has found themselves, knows what they want out of life or not. We force them and we push them to, yes, there are advantages for getting married early. The advantages, if you find yourself and then the right person, there are advantages. One of those, for those who would love to have children, um, it's best to have um, get married and have children quite early, because the risk of having
Congenital.
uh,
Oh,
conditions, yes, are lesser if you start
earlier.
having kids earlier. So there are, advantages to married early, but people should not be forced. They should not be pressured to go into a union when they have no business being in that union in the first place. Because marriage is not something, contrary to what many people think, marriage is not something that completes you. No, you have to be complete on your own. I know that the scriptures part says, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, missing piece. A lot of those things, words, flowery things exist out there. But in real life, you have to be adequate. You have to be self adequate. You have to be happy by yourself. When you're at a place where you can add to another person,
Mm-hmm.
and both of you can better each other. It's not a case of one person being, what happens when that person is not there? Are you saying life ends when that person is not there? You know, I know relationships are built over years, and you become so used to each other, right, that you feel the void when this party is not there. But it doesn't mean that on your own, you're not a complete person. We need to get this idea out of our mind, because it's that dependence, over dependence on another for our meaning. That's seeking external validation. That is one of the things that land people in trouble. That's why the person does things and you are perpetually unhappy
And yes, you
because of
remain.
what another person is doing.
Mm.
Yes. So also this topic has like very many sides to it that I don't think in one discussion we can actually exhaust all of the topic. But in summary, I'd just like to say that if we start to think of marriage more as a partnership, where the goal is for the two individuals in that partnership, they come together to see how they can better themselves as individuals, and then together as a unit grow together, and then when, as partners, and then when kids are involved, as a family unit, looking for the interest of everybody within that unit. It is only then that these problems that we see, this homicide issues and all of those will
We
go
begin to
down.
go
Another very important issue, Uzo, and I'm not sure we can exhaust that in this discussion, is ownership. Us humans, one of the problems that we have, and this is not just in marriage relationships, it's in relationships generally, we feel like we own the other person.
down.
We feel like we own the other party. Even our children, we feel like we own them and we want to control outcomes, we want to control their reactions, we want to control their behaviors. This ascribing ourselves to something that we don't have the capacity for is one
We
of
are
the
talking
reasons
about
why we have
playing God
playing
within
God.
our
Exactly.
relationships,
Playing
whether
God.
with our
Exactly.
children
Playing
or
God
with our
in our
partners.
relationship. Yes. This is one of the reasons why, if a man is not conforming to the idea that I have, and then I feel like, you know, it's because it does not love me. If the woman is not conforming to the idea that I have, I feel like, oh, there has to be, I don't know, we have to be able to get step out of ourselves, right? And not base everything around us. We also have to think of the other person, which is why I say it's a partnership. It's a partnership.
Exactly.
Which it should be about what will make my partner happy. And then what will make my partner happy means I also see things from their side. One of the biggest issues, that it may be small, but those issues grow in size, are things as little as toothpaste. You grow up pressing toothpaste from
From
the
the middle.
middle of the tube. The other person hates that you press from the tube. The other one is leaving the toilet seat up, leaving the toilet seat down. If
The
you
toilet
really
sit up and
cared,
toilet sit down. Do you know that thing is so hopeless? I just realized it recently that it's a hopeless thing. Because if you leave the
it's
toilet seat down, what do I expect if you leave the toilet seat up and I'm complaining?
yeah,
So what am I trying to
yeah,
say? That when you come, you should be the one filling with the toilet. And then when
exactly.
so that is such a hopeless argument.
Both sides have like a valid reason why they want it up or down. Some men will argue that they want it up so that when they pee, they don't,
Yes, mess up
pee
the thing.
on the
And then I'll be
seats,
like, why do
right?
I always have to come and put it down? Then why do I always want you
Uh-huh.
to come and be putting it up?
Put it up, put it down, and like that. But you see, marriages are about, in a way, compromises too, right? But not compromises that put you at a disadvantage, right? But you're not just thinking about
It
yourself,
is.
you're thinking about the other person. A lot of the disagreements that we have is because we're not thinking about the other
That's what it
person and how they
is.
feel
That's what it is.
about these issues. So there was a time that, let's a man, you snore a lot. And because you snore, a woman, your partner is not able to get proper sleep. You sleep, no problem. And your partner talks to you about this. I mean, the ideal thing is to try to find ways. There are things that you can do. There are nose clips, there are nose masks. Losing weight can be another thing. If it is really a loving relationship, you want to see things that you can do that will make life easier and better for the person. A loving relationship is one that you don't want to add stress to their lives. You want
Mm.
you want to make it better, even if a teeny weeny bit. Your goal is also to make it better,
Mm.
and making it better means sometimes
Compromise something.
making yes, compromises and sacrifices, right?
Mhm.
Like, oh, if because I snore, she's not able to sleep or is not able to sleep, what can I do to make sure that she gets, better sleep, and take steps to do those
And not to
things.
start getting
This
angry
simple
that
thing,
she even mentioned it.
not to get angry. Yes, not to get start getting angry. That's what I mean by you should be thinking about the other person. A lot of time we base it on us and what we want, but we
Mm.
should. A marriage is you want to make the other person's life
Easier.
less burdensome, as easy as possible. And so things that you can do in the toilet, sit toilet up. I mean, for me, it's
You know,
not a big deal. If
for me,
this is what will
what
make
should
you
happen in
happy,
that thing?
you can do it.
Exactly. I will be putting the toilet seat up. And when you come to the toilet, you will notice that I'm always putting it up. And then I will notice that you are always putting it down because you're doing it for me
Yes.
while I'm doing it for you.
Yes.
That is the
Yes.
ideal
So
thing.
Exactly. So we can these things are not like, cast in stone how they will be. Couples need to work out ways that they can do things that would make their partner's life better. The goal is not submission. The goal is to make the other person's life better. And if you do that, you would see the things. I hate the word submissions, but those things that you expect
That
as
submission, you're going
submission,
to get it.
I hate the
You're going
word.
to get it.
Those things will come naturally.
They will come.
Naturally. Um,
Yes.
Again, I'm still querying or fighting with the word submission, but those things that when men talk about submission, those things they expect. If you love your woman right, those things that you are calling
If you love the
submission,
woman who wants you
you will
right,
naturally,
can
yes,
we
those things will
qualify?
naturally
Yeah.
come. Exactly.
Because
So
they will come
it's
and
not
come back
by
and say, uh-huh.
yes, it's not by I am the head, I am the head. If you have to mouth
Yes.
that you are the head, you are not the head.
You are not there. And you already
If you
see
have
it.
to
That's
mount
why you are saying it.
if you have to mount it, then it's not true. You're forcing it. It needs to be earned. It needs to flow naturally. And it would only happen that way if you put the person's interest in front of you, not before you, or not
No,
like
they
to your disadvantage, right? I need to clarify that, right?
yes.
But if their interest is like very important, very key to you, it will guide all of the actions that you do. You would not want to do things that would hurt them
Yeah. What
because you love them. You would not want to do things that would hurt them. You want to make sure that they're protected. You want to make sure that
because when they are
they're
unhappy,
not
you are not
exposed.
happy.
Yes, you want to make sure that they're not exposed in a way, whether to your family or friends or
Hmm.
whoever. You want to make sure that they're not exposed. You want to make sure they're always protected. And this goes both ways. It's not just for the man,
Hmm.
because again, it's a human thing. It's not a gender thing. And if we love our partners right, we'll see that things would naturally flow well. And this, like you qualified it, for that person, that is your person. Because if you love the wrong person right, no
You're
matter
on your own.
how much investment you make, I'm sorry, you would never get the feedback that
Yeah.
you expect because that person is not just the person for you.
But I think
Yes.
people have fallen into making it the norm because when sometimes you hear when you say that, people will tell you, no, relationships are not easy. They'll tell you, no, relationships are not easy. Relationships are always, where do you think you're going to find that person? To me, I just
Mm.
see it as that means you already know that this is not your person. That's what you're essentially saying. But you believe that you are not going to find that person. Therefore, you will settle for this one that you already know is not where you're supposed to be. That's what you're
Hmm.
telling me when you say that. To you, it sounds like you're making a reasonable statement, but that's essentially what you're saying, which means you already know that this thing is going to be fraught with difficulties. And every
Yeah,
day you're at loggerheads because you have been trying to put a square in a round hole.
in a round
So
hole.
forever and
Yes.
ever, that struggle
It,
continues.
the struggle would always continue
Yes,
because there's no
there's
alignment.
no
And
alignment.
unfortunately, yes. I see a question here from Debbie.
Yes.
Can we take, she asked, do you think age difference or age gap is a big issue? Um, personally, I do not think that. Um, I mean, my preference would be for someone who is at this kind of the same level in terms of, you know, exposure and all of that, but it's not a strict criteria. Love, love happens. We've seen people older, men with younger women, and we've seen that some of them have loving relationships, right? The dynamics are different for everyone. There's no one size fits all approach to things that have to do with relationships. What works for A might not work for B. So there are no hard and fast rules, is what I'm trying to say. My preference as a person, and preferences can go out the window when love happens to you, because you may already have like a particular idea, but then you find yourself falling for somebody who was not part of your ideal of the kind of person that you idealized, in your younger years. You find that it's somebody completely different that you're falling for. So there's no, Debbie, to answer your question, there's no hard and fast rule to these things. But people within the same age gap are likely to understand themselves better because their experiences are similar. So when they're talking about issues, they are likely to look at it from, the same lens because the experiences are similar compared to people with larger gaps between them. But again, no hard and fast rules
Yeah.
about these things. What works for one person may not work for the other person. As long as there is mutual love, mutual respect between both parties, that is what matters the
They can
most.
always adjust because
Yes.
somebody who is older than me may not see my point when something is of importance and value to me. They might just think that, what is she talking about?
That's
But the
childish.
truth,
Something that you consider important, they will say
yes.
is childish. But
And then,
it's important.
yeah, I may consider
Yeah.
what they consider important as, why would you think that that is important? But the truth is that if I really want this person, if I feel that this is my person, when they say something that I even ordinarily would have considered ridiculous, when Mr. A says it, it's ridiculous. When he says it, all of a sudden, I will
Mm.
begin to find ways to make sense of it. I want to hear more from him.
Hmm.
Why do you think that this is important? And then he explains to me. So I'm going to have more patience to see how I can adjust because I just want him to be happy, right? If I
Yes,
want him to be happy, I'm not saying to adjust to things that make you uncomfortable because that still won't work.
exactly.
Still won't work.
Exactly.
So if
That's very important.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's something that I can, because it's coming from him and I just want this man's happiness, I am going to find ways to make sense of it. But once it's someone that I am not really, what are you talking about? Stop disturbing me with that talk. All right.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. I mean, this thing that you just said now, it's you can relate it to that toilets up and down sit. If it will make you happy, it's not a big deal.
Yes.
I will keep it down.
Yes.
If you want it down, I will keep it down. It
Yes.
doesn't it doesn't cost me anything. Another thing is grooming. Grooming. Um, some people prefer hairs on their body, the pubes and all of that. Your partner prefers it gorimapa
Bear.
clean, all of that. If this is what makes, because I care about you so much, I will do it. It's not, there's certain things that are not taking anything away from me, but they can make your life
Easier.
happier. I will do
And
them.
that's
I will do
when
them.
and that's when
Yeah.
people say that if you really love someone, you're going to just do, you're going to go out of your way to make them happy.
Go out of their way to make them happy. Not such that
Right.
you put your own happiness in the back burner. No. But there are certain concessions that you can make that this thing doesn't really cost me much, but it's going to make their
But
lives
help
happier.
me. Join
Yes.
so hold hands with me as we continue to shout to people. Those things are all true, but you've got to be doing it with the person who wants to be in that relationship with you. Because
Exactly.
it's so
Exactly.
painful to me because I see the heartbreak every day. Every day. I am doing everything I am. Why does he? Why does she? Listen, you are hurting yourself. You are
Mm.
choosing now to hurt yourself when you could have spent all that time and effort on yourself. I was going to say on someone else. The reason I say on
Mm.
yourself is because you actually need that. It's also coming from a place. It is what I call it is self-hate. It sounds like a strong term, You say, also. I say, but it is self-hate because if your child is on drugs and your child is having withdrawal symptoms from you taking away the drugs, you are not going to be giving your child the drugs because you know this thing is harmful for the child. You're not going to be giving your child
Mm,
because they just really, really want it and it's painful to be
mm,
without it. You're going to want them to be able to save themselves from the drug addiction. So that thing that is not going to augur well for you in the end, you need to
yeah.
quickly remove yourself from it. It is not by investing more and more and more and they're going to eventually
No,
see,
no,
you know.
no.
If we want to,
They would never receive, no
they can
matter
see
the
it and
investment.
appreciate it.
They will not
They won't be
receive
able
it.
to
They will
receive
not
it.
receive it.
They won't
Yes,
be
they
able
will
to
not receive.
receive it.
See, it's what you give has to be received. It's like a ball and socket joint
Mm-hmm.
in technology. It has to go
It has to
somewhere.
go somewhere.
But you may be putting all of that out. If it's with the wrong person, they will never
They
receive it
don't have what it
because
takes to receive it.
you're not. Yes,
They're
you're
not
not just.
fertile ground.
Yes, and it doesn't mean that they are bad people. They're not just the person for you,
Yeah.
right? Somebody else will do something not even in quote half of what you're doing, but they will be able to receive that because that person aligns in
Aligns with
some
them.
areas.
I
Yes,
almost
that
begin to
you
think it's
just
like a spiritual thing. Do you know? Because to
exactly,
me, it seems
exactly.
like a
It,
spiritual
it
thing.
is.
Because
It is
even
actually a
when people
spiritual
don't,
thing.
have you seen, even when people have an issue with somebody, sometimes even family
Mm,
blood, and you cannot understand why two brothers,
true.
one just seems to always be hating on the other one to the extent of they will
Mhm,
take the house, they will take the land, they will do everything, they will talk about. It's like,
mhm,
to me, I feel like there's something, it is beyond, just accept this is the person that you're spiritually aligned with. You're spiritually aligned
mhm.
or you're not spiritually.
Oh yeah. In relationships, true loving relationships, it's a connection that transcends several realms: physical, emotional, spiritual. Real loving relationships across realms. If it's a relationship based on the external beauty, beauty will fade, the love will end. If it's based on finance, when there are
Ups.
moments where there is trouble, it will end. But a relationship that transcends all of these levels, from the physical, the financial, the spiritual, that's the only relationship that can stand the test of time. Unfortunately, a lot of us, like I said, at the time that we're going into these relationships and these marriages, we have not even come to understand who we are and what we want out of life to even begin to make the choice of who we want to be with, who can accompany us on
That
that journey, who
journey.
would align with us in this manner. And so we end up with the wrong people. And that is why no matter the investments that both parties make, there's no receptivity at the end of the day, which is unfortunately the situation of quite a number of people today, which is why I said earlier that I am, teaching my kids to take their time. You know, also they also don't have to get married. That's another another discussion
Mm.
because it's not compulsory. You don't have to get married because your dad got married or because everybody else is
Oh,
getting married.
that's another topic.
It has to be a decision, a personal decision. It's not um, a social decision. It's a personal thing. Yes, marriage, childbearing, they're important for continued existence and all of that and all of that. But it shouldn't be something you're pressured either by your parents or by society to go into. It should be like
Compulsion.
a conscious personal decision at the end of the day. Because if you're forced into it and you don't take the time to do the work of finding yourself first, I always insist, find yourself first, and then a partner who aligns with your vision or who you are. If you do not put in the effort, if you do not put in that work, I'm sorry, your union is dead on arrival because it would only be a matter of time for
It
before the
is.
cracks start to show. Yes.
It is, but world people will not agree. World and church people will not agree because what they want is once that marriage has been written, a certificate has been written, they don't want anything to separate them. They will tell you that God hates divorce, right? And I understand that when they say God hates divorce, it is not what it sounds like. But because I don't stand, I never took up I've been told on a number of occasions to come and be a pastor more than twice. Do you understand? But I have never taken up that offer to go and stand on the
With
pulpit.
your fascinator, you resemble Mommy Gio now.
So this is
You
for
resemble Mommy
Valentine's.
Gio. But
So
this is like a very beautiful Mommy Gio. I will come to your own. I don't go to church, but I'll come to your own.
you come to my church. So because I have never stood at
If
the
all
pulpit
Mommy Gios like you, maybe that would be another reason to go.
to go to church. That's another thing. So some people find their partner in church, not knowing that that person only went there because they want to fish and find somebody that they are going to come and use psych the hell
Mhm,
out of. So they've come to church to
mhm,
pick someone who is malleable that they're going to do what they want with. So anyway, so
mm,
because I've never stood at the pulpit to be delivering my sermons, I will say that my understanding of God does not like divorce or God hates divorce is not what it sounds like on the surface. It's a matter of what comes out of because of the pain that people put on other people when they divorce. That is my belief of what it means when they say God hates divorce. Because people will become an
mm,
enemy of the next person when they didn't have to
mhm,
be. It's that
mhm. It doesn't have divorce doesn't always have to be chaotic. It doesn't always
and
have to
destroy the
be
children's lives. Yeah.
exactly. It doesn't always have to be like that. You can be great friends, um, and work together for the interest of the children. Some people unfortunately think that
Automatically you
um,
are enemies.
because the parties are not aligning, and again, like I said, it's not because either party is bad. It's just because you're not just like the perfect fit for each other. It doesn't mean that things have to go awry, and there has to be catastrophe and fightings and all of those things. Again, if people learn to not to hold on to things too much, not to try to control outcomes, not to play God in circumstances that they do not have the capacity to dictate outcomes. I think there'll be less frictions in relationships if people understand that. At some point you just have to let go of some things that are not within your control because you actually don't have the capacity to
You
control
can try all you want.
outcome.
Just
Yes,
in
but you're not God,
futility. It's in
right?
futility.
And when I say God, I don't necessarily mean the idea of the Christian God, but I mean the entity, the force that puts everything together in the spiritual realm, as it were. Some of us try to ascribe that power to ourselves, but we're just human. We do not have that power to determine outcomes. We can only do what we can and leave the rest.
It's so funny. You haven't even understood and controlled yourself, and you're trying to control other human beings.
Including our
When we
children,
do that,
including our children.
yeah. Can I
We
either?
sometimes we sometimes feel that um, we own them, right? And we want to sometimes even find parents want to live their own lives
Yeah.
through their children. It's wrong. It's wrong.
So
Yeah, you were going to say
yeah.
something.
So
Sorry.
coming back to the couples and the homicide and all the marriage and like, what about why can we not as human beings, because for me, all that I want at any point in time is I just want my peace, right? So if I'm in a relationship, there's no way my relationship is going to be leading to homicide unless I am with somebody who is also not interested in having peace, right? And so this is where it now comes to, maybe at the end of the day, yeah, if both of us were people who just wanted peace, because when I see that this person isn't in alignment with me and we're always at loggerheads, I will want to just do what I can to have my peace, right?
mm,
Which might entail, okay, let's not do this anymore since we can't have peace with it. And when I say that, they have to now decide if they also want to not do this anymore since we can't have peace, or if they want to do whatever they can do for us to have peace. If I am willing to do whatever I can do, right? So
mm,
at the end of the
mm,
day, I just say that when these things happen and these things deteriorate, it comes back to, it's not about even being married, because people now say marriage is bad, marriages. It's not about even being married. It's not
mm.
about location. It's all about you. I think it's all about us. Unfortunately, some people have already chosen that partner who's for whom peace is not of high priority, and so they are
Mm,
stuck with it, you know. But if you value peace and you find that you are in this thing, you also recognize that continuing like that can lead you to either this homicide or whatever it is, right? So it's not about he's controlling me, or being difficult, or then you
mm.
blame it on the other person. Because if I want peace with you and I'm not fighting you, are you going to be beating me when I'm not even responding?
Right?
So I think at the end of the day, it comes to us, comes back to us. Okay.
Yes, and sorry, Uzo, on that point, right?
Mm,
Um, I know you use peace in the sense that in two different meanings, with two different meanings. Peace one, in the usual sense of the word, right? I don't want to fight. I don't want to, do this. If it's not working, let's end it. The other senses of that you use the word peace, if I understood you clearly, is um, I want this to work, right? Is there a way that we can sit together and resolve, whatever it is, make compromises, so that we can both be happy and peaceful? I do not like the peace in the sense of resignation, like, let one
mm-mm.
party just let
That's
go
not
so
peace,
that
because
peace
I will
will
still be in turmoil
reign,
inside.
because whatever it is that is causing the issue is not being addressed,
Yes.
right? So I'm not talking about. Just want to make sure we're not talking about that kind of peace where just because we don't want things to go bad, we now accept what is not okay for us. Peace in this case is sitting down together to say, okay, I really want this to work. Um, how can we get it to work?
Mm,
I mean, if both parties are willing to do that,
mm,
let them put in the work and do that. But if that is not happening, it's always best to leave, right? Instead of staying in a relationship and things escalate to the point that one party is now killing the other. I would always advocate, if you can't work out whatever the issues are and be happy. It's not a question of, allowing things go
mm.
and you're still unhappy and the issues
It's
are
still
not resolved. No,
self-hate.
I would not support
Yeah.
that, right? But if both of you can't resolve those issues and stay together happily, I would always advocate to leave, because it's better to be unmarried and alive, better to be divorced and alive than to be
Maybe
killed
they don't want
because you wanted
to, they don't want to
to.
have the title divorce attached to, or
Wait,
broken marriage attached,
there's no shame whatsoever
because
to
you've
it.
evolved enough to say that. Do you know that
Yeah, but
I know about a
yes.
man who escaped being poisoned by his wife because she wanted to end the marriage, but she doesn't want to be called a divorcee.
Mm.
So
She would rather be called
so
a
she
widow. A
preferred,
widow.
yes. So she was trying to kill him. She was trying to kill him
Mm.
so that she could escape having that title,
Mm-hmm.
attached to her.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you find yourself in a relationship where the other person apparently does not want to be there, you are exposing yourself to
Mm-hmm.
the risk of being killed.
Yes, you can't force
Yes,
it.
because
You can't
they
force
don't
it.
want to
Mm.
stay there. So you are just putting yourself at risk by holding on to them, right?
And making yourself unhappy
And you can't even get
in the
what you want
process.
from them anyway. So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Yes.
All right. That is that is it for this one, right? So thank you for being with
Yes.
us. Thank you for being with us, guys, on this one. We are, I hope, I want to believe that somebody has taken something away from the conversation. I think one of the biggest things is thinking about what other people think about us. When we're the ones who are going, we're the one living in the relationship. Have a relationship that you know is right for you, or resign yourself to the fact that you will be tolerating the unhappiness up until the point where one of you can no longer tolerate it, or both of you can no longer tolerate it, right? So but have the strength, and that's, I think that's what Tony was talking about. Know yourself and not be looking for validation. Have the strength to know what is right for you, and let that be what you are interested in for your own well-being and sanity, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, just to point out, a loving relationship is one that both parties are seeking the other party's well-being and happiness, um, their own, of course, plus as a partnership, and then as a unit. It's very, very important because if I am not happy in a relationship, I cannot give happiness to the other person. So I first have to be happy, and then that way I'm in a position to give happiness, at least contribute to the other person's happiness. And if that is the case and we have kids in the union, then that would naturally, envelope them
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, so it has to be, you have to love yourself enough and be willing to put your partner's happiness in front of you, not against your own um, desires and wishes. No, but to make it important enough, such that you're willing to put in the work for it. And once that happens, everything flows naturally. All of those things that men mouth, submission, and all of those things. I hate the word, by the way, I'm reiterating it.
I even like
They
it.
will come naturally because it's a loving relationship. A loving relationship is a partnership where everyone involved is trying to do their bit to make themselves happy and the people in the partnership happy as well.
I was having this conversation with another woman, and she was like, look, even this submission, when you have that man, right, that is, okay, this is the man that you want to be in a relationship with, and he's also treating you right. No be you go tell me anything. Now me go they buy red carpets as you're coming
I'm
home.
telling you,
As you're coming home, I'll be like,
these
my
things will
king,
come
my lord,
naturally.
my lord, my lord and master,
Naturally.
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 So that's
Like you
submission
don't
that
you don't have to force it.
you
Mhm.
don't have to force it. When you have to, you're never going to
Mhm.
get it. What you're getting is an act that looks like it. That's why
Exactly. Exactly.
she cannot make you happy, because you'll always be demanding, because but when by herself, she's always eager, looking for how to make you happy. Is that
Yes, the thing
what
about
you're
acts
looking
is you
for?
can't keep them up for too long. You
You
can't
can't
keep
give
up
up an
acts
act for
for
too
too long.
long. And
Yes. So it has to for it to be meaningful for you
you can't
and
be
for the
happy.
other person.
I
It
just remember
has to
one
be
guy
not
that said that the woman he is going to marry, that he's only going to marry a woman that is going to submit all her salary to him, that he will be the one in control of everything. And then a friend of mine, actually, a medical doctor, married this man. He said when they get here to the US that she can do her practice her medicine, right? She was heading to the UK when he married her and said, no, 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 you do it in the US. They got to the US, this man just locked up and said she's not going to work because he wanted to be in control. He wanted to be in control. Now, how can you be happy? Because you're always thinking, is she trying to escape? Is she going to this? What is she going to do? You still cannot have peace,
Mhm.
you know? And
Exactly.
of course, the whole
Exactly.
the marriage at the end of the
Reminds me
day.
of the reminds me of the Asha song. I'm in jail, you're in jail too. I wear
Exactly.
uniforms, you wear
That is
uniforms.
it.
Because exactly,
You're constantly
exactly. You can't be
looking
happy
over
when
your
you want to
shoulder.
keep another person down.
You're constantly
No,
looking
you
over your
can't be
shoulder.
happy.
That woman might even
Mhm,
go and bring you other men's children because she's in something she doesn't want. She'll go and
mhm.
do you understand? There's no safety.
Yes.
There's no point. It's a waste of efforts.
True. Very, very true.
Yeah. But people is out of fear. People are afraid that they won't get what your only business is to live your life. Live your life. Do right, you know, so for yourself, for the next person. And then let what happens happen and show itself. That's all that it
True.
is.
I agree, Uzo.
Yeah.
I agree. Well said.
Okay, we'll close this one now. Thank you so much, Tony. It went on for longer, but the conversation cannot even end. So it will have to continue. The topic has to continue another day under a different title. Yeah? Talking about
Yes.
love.
Yes.
Okay. Can you please don't leave, Tony? Don't leave. Thank you. All right. Thank you guys for being with us on this conversation. Take home this thing and hold on to yourself, real true love and the real marriage. But if you want to take the make believe, then we're telling you right now that your marriage has already ended even before the day that you signed the certificates. So hi Noye Space. You're meeting us just as we're ending. Thank you for joining us. And that's it. Thank you so much, Tony, for your insight and
My
for
pleasure.
being level headed. And I think I can just hand the platform over to you now. Yes, yes, I can just hand it over to you. Okay, bye.
My daughter heard you and she's
She's
laughing.
laughing. Oh, right. Your dad. Yes, I love your dad and how reasonable he is. If she can hear this, so reasonable. Yes. So far, okay. All right. Bye bye then, everyone. Hi, Noya Space. Thank you. She's saying happy Sunday to us. Thank you. Happy Sunday to you as well.
Happy Sunday, Noye. Thanks, Debbie, for your questions. Thanks, Faith Studios,
Thank
as
you.
well.
Thank you, everyone. All right. Bye bye now. Noya